Kelsey, not only are you involved in one major area of health, but you're involved in two. You graduated from Rutgers, you're full-time at Englewood Hospital,
Hmm.
working in communication, health communication,
Yep.
and you also teach kickboxing for a fitness center.
Yes, I do.
All right, so talk to us a little bit about both of those roles and just a brief summary of what you do in each capacity, because they're both related to health, but in
Hmm.
very different ways.
My job in communications day to day looks like digital marketing, social media marketing, a little bit of media production. So I'm kind of being warped into the production team of video, photography, which I love. I love the creative end of it.
So do I. So do I.
Yeah. So majority of my job in the hospital is spreading messages to the local communities, to our patients, not so much internal communications within our own employees, but on a broader scale of communities in general and our patients. And then on the kickboxing end of it, I teach people how to change their lifestyle. So it's a more hands-on um, aspect of health. So I get to work with people privately or in classes. They get to talk to me and spin off me about their own health issues and how we can create something that works for them and something they can stick with.
What are some of the ways, both at the hospital and in kickboxing, that you guys have been innovative in reaching patients and clients?
So for kickboxing, we took the outdoor stance. So we partnered with another local business that was suffering due to the coronavirus pandemic, and we decided to host outdoor classes. So it was boot camp and yoga mainly, because we figured people would be more willing to come and relax and kind of do some grounding work and be peaceful with earth. And then for the hospital standpoint, it's more getting at the message that if you come here, you will be okay. You know, we're not in the business of giving people illness. We're in the business of solving illness, right? This is a solution-based facility. So it's learning to rebuild trust almost with everybody on both ends, which is, again, a new challenge, but we're working on it. And for the hospital standpoint, people really want to see that it's clean, right? You don't want to come into the facility and it's dusty and gross because you're like, ew, I'm going to get sick. So weirdly enough, our marketing campaigns are all about our facility being clean. That's our most important message, that everything in this facility is top-notch care. It is clean. It is safe for you. And then the same thing kind of in the kickboxing facility, you know, we have UV lights, we have new air systems, we wipe down the bags, classes are shorter. People just want to be reassured that wherever they're going, they can feel safe.
How about after that? Once it's established, the place is safe from a cleanliness
Mm-hmm.
perspective, then what?
Once people are in our facility and they feel safe, and then it's like, okay, well, I have three other people that are interested in taking a class. Can I do a private class with them? Of course, we will work with you. We will work with your schedule. And if that's what you're comfortable with, at least you're not alone anymore, right? There's a couple more support people that you're willing to bring in and kind of experience this with you.
Right. And I'm sure people listening can completely connect with that mindset and that approach from their healthcare providers, from their
Mm-hmm.
fitness centers, gyms, from everybody having these. We're doing everything we can to
Mm-hmm.
keep certain standards
Mm-hmm.
and to protect you, and we want to be flexible and open to make this work for everybody.
Right.
And Kelsey, I can't help, this reminds me so much of the terms and things that we would use in our leadership course. You were in my leadership class,
Mm-hmm.
and when we would talk about things like communication, negotiation, and forming strategic partnerships. So to me, it sounds like you've been forming strategic partnerships with the other entity that you partnered with to be able to have the classes outside,
Yep.
and even the way that you're doing it in the hospital. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the lessons you learned as a communication specialist in your job now,
Mm-hmm.
taking what you learned from the leadership class and putting that into effect here. What kinds of connections can you draw from that?
I think this is so important. I mean, even in your leadership class, we did an exercise and you tested us kind of. You had asked us to go to three people that we were close with, and they had to tell you some criticism, constructive criticism. And you had specifically said, don't choose somebody you know you won't be receptive with. And I did. I pushed my boundary. I knew who this human was and what our relationship was. And I was actually very willing to hear what they had to say. And I think it has pushed me out of a boundary of being so receptive of criticism and communication and opening a door for me. Just even in kickboxing, not everybody that takes a class is going to like your class. So not everybody's going to like the music you play, or not everybody's going to be on the same difficulty level. So for some people to come up with you, and as a teacher, you were always great at this, is what can I do better? And what did you like? What did you not like? So for people to be like, I didn't like this. I didn't like that you did that. So you can be very defensive, when somebody says, I don't like that you do this, it can be a little like, oh, okay, sorry. But for me, I'm like, noted.
I feel that when a person comes at you in a way that doesn't feel friendly, because some people are just more straightforward.
Right.
They don't even realize that what they have to say is coming across, especially if they're not really sensitive to words. And for those of us that are sensitive to words, it's like, what? Like, put those words back, man. Why are you pointing them so sharply at me?
Yep.
But some people, that's just not a thing to them. So understanding ourselves, understanding others is very helpful. At the same time, though, and I remember coaching the team that I worked with at the hospital on this, there are people who are absolutely being inappropriate in the way that they speak to you. And this may not happen as much in the kickboxing environment as much as it can happen in the hospital environment.
Totally.
Health matters, insurance denials, people in crisis. I mean, when the stakes are that high, at least my experience in the hospital, part of my job was dealing with the fires when people were getting out of hand. But I would always remind our administrative team, it's never okay to allow a person to speak to you in a way that's disrespectful.
Right.
So we have to have healthy boundaries in place too. So there's a difference between giving and receiving helpful feedback that's going to help something grow, and someone just being absolutely in the wrong and disrespectful. What are some strategies that you use for establishing healthy boundaries in the workplace?
I would say I'm always honest. And people never really question my integrity. So if somebody says I've done something wrong, my boss can kind of be like, that doesn't sound like Kelsey, and then that person can come to me and ask me honestly, like, what happened and why. And I'm an honest person, there's no point in lying and breaking trust like that. So I think that's my first strategy is, be honest and be true to yourself.
That's great to hear that you have that kind of a relationship with your boss, because it means you know somebody well enough to give them the benefit of the doubt. And it's not to say that we can't make mistakes, because there are times when we are going to be wrong.
Right.
But then we can admit to being wrong, especially if we realize it, or if it's brought to our attention, we can acknowledge.
And I also think that step of being honest, even if you do something wrong and you're like, yeah, I did screw that up, I'm sorry, and this is what I'm doing to work on to get that better or whatnot, people respect that boundary of like, okay, this person is an honest person, their integrity is true, their character is like this. So people won't really, I don't want to say fight back, it's such a negative phrase. I would say people won't question you as much. If you lie once, or if you're caught as that person that's not very honest, walls are breaking down, right? People are going to want to invade in your space because they need to know what you're doing.
Right. And it can become this cycle where
it
then further mistrust, and then more problems at work. And the next time you have to work with them, it creates more tension, and it keeps going. So totally agree. When it comes to workplace communication, I mean, we can talk about so many things. And today we've been able to touch on the blind spots, being open to feedback, and also sometimes some of the things that can happen when there's a little bit of miscommunication. I know there's so many different areas of this. We want to focus on those today. If you had to sum up your message for everybody listening in one sentence, what would that be?
To be gentle. And I know it's kind of cliche and kind of very simple, but I'm personally somebody that's very hard on myself. And it's not constructive for myself. You're always your worst enemy. So be gentle with yourself, be gentle with others. And if you have a mentality that you're always going to be on the defense, it's never going to be healthy relationships. So just being gentle and understanding that people can have bad days just like yourself, it will take you a little bit further in relationships and work in your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Kelsey. And self-care is a very important topic to me too. So I'd love to hear, what is the most recent thing that you've done to take really good care of yourself? It could be a self-care moment or a fun time, a creative time, something that you've done that's just for you.
Masking. I've been so into skincare.
And not like face masking, right?
No,
We're all doing that.
Yes. Well, that is important. I will say that. But the other face masking of skincare and taking care of my body, I mean, I'm into fitness, obviously, so kind of losing that outlet, I kind of had to channel healthy in a broader spectrum, which obviously will benefit me. So I've been really active on trying new skincare products and face masks, and kind of just taking time to lay in bed and not look at my phone or read a book, or just kind of sit there with my thoughts with a face mask on.
And if you could go back in time to talk to your 18-year-old self, you're 2 years out of college now almost, but if you could go back, talk to your 18-year-old self for 15 seconds only, what message do you share with 18-year-old Kelsey?
You will figure it out. You will always find the solution and figure it out for yourself. I think that's really important. And it's something that I've been really able to hone in on as a solution-based human being. Times can be really tough on yourself in college with a class that you might not be doing well in, but you will always figure it out.
Good message, an important reminder. When we're in the middle of stuff, it feels like we may never come up with a solution. It feels like this problem is it feels so big, but I like your message there. Solutions-based human being.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I went into college and I didn't even know what I wanted to do with my life. I was like, I'm here because I have to be here. My parents gave me this great opportunity, obviously. I'm in college and I had no idea what I wanted to do or where I wanted to be. And it feels like I just figured it out. And I know that's obviously I made active decisions to end up here. But like you said, like it kind of feels like a perfect fit. And some days I even look back and I'm like, how did I do this?
Maybe you were following some inner guidance along the way, but now it sounds like you're sure. Like it's no longer it's an exclamation mark. This is a good fit for you. That's great. And I usually like to ask too, if you could put your message on a t-shirt, what would it be? But I feel like a great t-shirt for you is solutions-based human being.
Yep. Totally. Absolutely.
And you mentioned, feedback is something that you're always working on growing, but is there some other skill that you're interested in actively working on, communications or technical skill?
Technically, I would say media production. I'm trying to really get into that field. It's kind of how I ended up here. I was one of the production interns and digital marketing specialists. So now that I'm kind of going into that team, I want to write more scripts and make more videos. And for us, it's more, I can also send you an example of one of the videos that we just finalized that I worked on with all the doctors. It was safe care messages to our community with schools opening up and stuff like that. So writing scripts and working with different people, editing videos, that's what I would say I'm working on right now.
Great skill and very timely, very relevant, and super important with the messaging. So yes, I would be happy to talk to you about that.
Yeah, of course.
You mentioned interns. So let's close out with this because it wasn't that long ago that you were doing your own internship before graduation. And for the college students listening, they might be looking for internships, or it might also be someone in a place to offer an internship. And I know for myself, I always remembered what it felt like to be an intern, wanting to find a place that was going to take you seriously, which takes an investment, right? If a student comes into your department, it's very easy to have them do small things that are helpful to the department, but not really helping them use their skills to the max. So what are some of the ways that you now, as a young person in your own career, able to offer internships? How do you feel about the relationship with student interns now at the hospital?
So I love having interns. I love it. I think it's maybe because I am younger, it's such an exciting time and I loved being an intern. I always get offered to speak to the interns. I would say you always should ask questions constantly. If you feel, like you said, that you're doing mindless work, or you have a strength that's not being tapped into, ask if you can do something that taps into that. Prove yourself, because that's kind of what I did. I was always willing to say, okay, I'm done with this, but I actually want to work on something like this. How about that? And rarely is anybody going to tell you no. Will it get published and be some great things? Who knows? But you did it, you proved yourself. That's really satisfying as an intern, if you're doing mindless work and then you're like, I did this.
And it shows you're a person that's got initiative, and
Right.
who's willing to provide even more than is being asked. So you're willing to go above and beyond,
Yeah.
which is a very standard thing we say, but it helps you be more memorable also, especially if you're in a pool of interns with lots of other people. I want to wish you the absolute best with your hospital work, with the kickboxing classes, with everything that you do to continue to develop healthcare in people in your part of the world, and to have influence with your interns. And I love hearing that you've applied all of these great communication concepts of blind spots, giving and receiving feedback, and being able to be gentle with yourself too. So
Thank you.
really happy to have heard from you today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. It's an awesome opportunity.